Arc Raiders is currently doing their second kind of public alpha test, and I want to talk about it because this is a game I followed for a long time, and I've actually been able to play it for quite a while at this point. So let's get into it a little bit. So, if you don't remember, this was a game that got revealed a couple years ago. I want to say it was Summer Game Fest or the Game Awards. It had this super cool trailer. It had a really good song and really cool visuals, and but we didn't know much about it. We've learned in the years since that it is an extraction shooter. It's one that's been kind of actually developing for quite a while. It doesn't seem like as much of a reach as some of the other ones that have recently come out seem to be. This was one that kind of uh, it, it it's from a new studio. It's from Embark, who has a bunch of old dice devs of the Battlefield franchise, and it's interesting because it's we have all this talk happening right now around Marathon, the Bungie's extraction shooter that they seemingly did instead of Destiny 3 to some mixed reception. We'll have to see how that goes. And this also comes on the tails of, Escape from Tarkov has been a really popular game for a long time, but it's still kind of a niche, even though it's relatively popular. And now you have all of these studios trying to kind of capture that magic, and I have some thoughts about that I'll get into here in a minute. As for Arc Raiders, I've actually been testing this for a while. I don't know how much I can say about the old tests I did, but as of, I want to say, a year or 2 years ago at this point, I got my first look at it, and it was early alpha. You're talking about a game that didn't have all the textures, and most of the game systems and mechanics weren't in yet. It was a insanely minimal experience. But that's made it fun to see where it's gone. They also did a test last year that was definitely a lot further along, but was still pretty basic. This current test they're doing, I've played it for a couple days now, or for a day or so, and put in a decent number of hours. This feels pretty close to being done. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this game comes out this summer. I would be amazed if it doesn't actually, because it's feeling pretty polished, pretty finished. I don't think it's doing anything super revolutionary. I don't think anyone's gonna play this compared to Tarkov or compared to Marathon or whatever and be like, wow, they're doing something really different. But what they're doing well. The game is gorgeous. The game is beautiful. The sound design is insane. The way that sounds differ inside buildings and outside, and the proximity chat is like represented extremely well from like proximity, from echoes and things like that. There's there's ray tracing as far as I can tell. Even on, I'm playing on Series X, and it has ray tracing and it's running smooth. It feels like it's 60 FPS. I don't know what the resolution is, but it looks good. Like, it doesn't. There's a lot of games on Xbox that play 60 FPS. They claim it has ray tracing, all this stuff, but you can tell it's like FSR, upscaled, and it kind of doesn't look that great and things like that. I've not had that experience with this. This game legit looks great, and all things considered. So, um, I'm excited for this. I like Tarkov. I have over 2,000 hours in Tarkov, but I've definitely in the last few years gotten away from it because I kind of got tired of it. I think that game has peaked in a way, even though it's not even fully out yet. But Arc Raiders, really interesting experience. Nice, like a stressful, cozy game, if that makes sense. Now, where does this game fit in? I don't know. Will this game be successful? I have no idea. Embark actually released another game, I think it was last year, called The Finals. And I'm sure you remember seeing that for good reasons or bad. It had press because it was this first person kind of almost felt like an old school Battlefield game where like everything was destructible and all that. It caught a lot of flack because it used AI generated announcer voices that would like incorporate your gamer tag and stuff into the announcements during the game and afterwards and things like that. It seems like they mostly got past that because the game was good and people liked it a lot. So people kind of got over some of that trepidation around AI. That is very understandable, and I don't blame them at all. But from what I could tell, that game was essentially made to help them fund this game, Arc Raiders. So I'm curious how it's going to play out. Right now we have so many games trying to do this. Like the OG extraction games, uh, technically was the Division, had its survival DLC, was technically the first extraction game like this. And then shortly after that, you had like PUBG start to get real popular, and then Escape from Tarkov shortly after that. And Tarkov at this point, to most people, is kind of the preeminent extraction game. It's funny because, like I said, I've played quite a bit of that game because of Marathon and Arc Raiders and all this. You've had people talking about Tarkov a lot, whether it's on podcasts or content creators or influencers and stuff. But a lot of these people have never even touched Tarkov and have no idea what the game is all about. Like, because you see people talking about it in this like kind of glowing way of like, oh, Tarkov's this and that. Tarkov's a hot mess. Tarkov is not a great game, but they cultivated an audience over years that's very connected to the game because the studio is a hot mess. They're super shady. Good luck ever getting like a like a refund from them. It's never going to happen. There's a bunch of weird and shady stuff that they've done. There's been questions about compensation to the CEO, the creator of the studio. There's a lot of weird stuff going on there. Not to mention that there's likely connections between them and the Russian military. A lot of the one faction in Tarkov, the Bear faction, is literally based on the Wagner PMC that was pretty active in the Ukraine war before their leader got taken out, and they were extremely active in Africa and doing destabilizing activities and things like that. This Tarkov's not this great story if you know a lot about it, but it's a unique game that has a very dedicated audience. And the way that game has come up, I don't think that can be replicated by any AAA studio or really by anyone else. I think that was a very unique situation. The timing was perfect, and they got the right influencers involved, and they literally built a community from nothing. The biggest influencers in the Tarkov community over the years are people who, for the most part, weren't known before they did that, and now you have people like Pestilli and some other creators who were probably some of the most not even well known outside of that community, but very wealthy, very successful, like retiring at like in their 30s, successful. And that's something you can't, Bungie just can't conjure up. Even Embark, can't do that, even though they're doing it more of the right way, in my opinion. So we'll just have to see. I want this to succeed, but in a world where games like the Division Heartland, that was supposed to kind of expand on this idea, the Call of Duty DMZ mode, which that was kind of their light attempt at this extraction shooter. We have all these projects that have come out and got canceled. This, I think, the Cycle was one of them, and some others. It's such a niche idea, and I just don't expect it to be this big giant thing that all of these companies are trying to make it. But they keep trying, and I will say that so far from what I've played and seen, I hope Arc Raiders, I hope they can make it. If you want more thoughts on Arc Raiders, the extraction game industry, or just the game industry in general, please be sure to subscribe to this channel. Become a YouTube member if you want to support everything I do. Check out the links in the description if you want more ways to support or to check out the other stuff I have going on. But that's all I have for this one. So until next time.